Okay, guys, we are 10 weeks away from the big competition in Dubai, WUS 2019, and the events have been announced, so I thought I'd quickly run through them with you. So we have 5 events this year, and it's starting off with the deadlift. These guys don't want to be outdone by the Arnolds and Europes and all the other big shows, so they're going to start the competition off with a deadlift for max. This is a chance for the athletes to come back and hit that huge PB that they've all been talking about. Obviously, everyone's spoken about Eddie's 500 kilos. I've kind of said in the past in a few other videos, I don't think we need to worry about chasing that right now, particularly as there's no extra prize in this show for the deadlift. So I think with the amount of great deadlifts we have there, it's going to be a hell of a battle. And I think maybe taking a risk to go for a world record could be a bit of a mistake in this show. There's so many guys that can deadlift. You've got guys like Thor Bjornsson, who's arguably, without Eddie being there, the biggest deadlifter in the world right now. Who else we got? Krzysztof Radzikowski, 400 kilo plus deadlifter. Brian Shaw, he's a 460, 470 kind of deadlifter. Shivlikov, his deadlift's up there, well over 400. Rauno Heindler, that guy is a 400, like a 1,000 pound plus deadlifter. Jerry Pritchett, another 1,000 pound plus deadlifter. There's just a list of crazily strong guys competing in this show. JF Caron, another huge deadlifter. Janasha. This is, Martin Lissis. There's so many guys that can pull well over 400 kilos. It's going to be a great event. And if you aren't pulling over 400 kilos, this event's going to cost you. There's so many guys competing in this show that one bad event is going to be critical for guys that, guys like Kilias Koski, who obviously is one of the best guys in the world right now, but we've all spoken about his deadlift in the past. And his deadlift's not weak, he's a strong guy, but it's just there's so many good deadlifters, that can, almost everyone in the field can pull not just 400, but well over 400. A 400 isn't going to score you any points. You need to be getting 440 plus these days to get big points. And even in this field, I'd say 440 isn't going to be enough. You're going to have to go over 1,000 pounds, 455 kilos, which just shows the standard in strongman right now and the standard of this competition. It really does have the absolute best guys in the world competing. So event number 2 is the vehicle pull. And knowing what these guys did last year and knowing how kind of committed they are to putting on a show, I expect it to be a cool looking vehicle again this year. Last year they went for like the Mad Max kind of theme. I personally don't know what they've got planned this year, but it's going to be something cool. The only thing I will say is last year's truck wasn't really heavy enough. I would have preferred a heavier truck. I say that. I did all right on the truck pull last year. I think I ended up coming second on it to Terry Hollands. But I think for this kind of level of competition, it needs to be a heavier truck pull. And I think the guys have kind of, listened from last year, and it will be a much tougher pull. But expect it to look awesome. And again, we've got so many great truck pullers. The huge guys, Thor and Shaw are both competing. Terry Hollands, he's competing, and it's going to be interesting to see how his transition from his bodybuilding competition now getting back into strongman training. But I know one event that Terry is always consistently good at is the truck pull, so I expect he'll be looking for big points on that.
And it's not just weight, is it? It's technique. He's got that technique.
He's got very good technique. Terry's probably one of the best people to watch, in terms of truck pulling. He keeps his hips low, even though he's a tall guy, he keeps those hips low, drives through. A lot of people think truck pulling is just about being low, but it's actually hip position is more important.
And just about body weight as well.
Not just body weight, no. I mean,
that's what people think.
Oh yeah, some people do. Yeah, I mean, especially with a rope, it's not so much about body weight. I mean, body weight helps. All things being equal, if you're technically really good, really, really strong, and you're the heavier guy, you have the advantage.
Yeah.
But no, with a rope there is a lot more to it, and that's why someone like Kilias Koski as well, very good technique, extremely good truck puller. I expect him to do well on that event, and probably he'll be looking to claw big points back after the deadlift. Event number 3 is going to be a 180 kilo log for reps. Real cool looking log that they've got made. 180 kilos is big. It's just shy of 400 pounds. They'll probably call it 400 pounds on the day. But yeah, 180 kilos for repetitions. And, again, going back 5, 6, 7 years, you wouldn't even dream of doing that kind of weight for reps. Now the guys are just that good. And again, we have so many good pressers. Obviously, Krzysztof Radzikowski competing in this show, an amazing log lifter. You've got Brian Shaw, his log lifting is very, very good. Who else is big log lifter? Koski. He can press huge numbers. Just missed out on 220, I think, at Europe's this year. He's exceptionally good for reps as well. As good as his max is, I think his reps are a bit better. Iron Bibby is a huge log lifter. We haven't seen much of him recently. I'm sure he's going to want to put in a big performance and show that he's got some of the strongest shoulders absolutely on the planet. A guy I haven't spoken much about so far is Robert Oberst, and he's a great log lifter. He'll be looking to do well. Luke Stoltman as well. Luke's pressing power over the last couple of years has just come on incredibly. He's kind of, he was tied with Graham Hicks at Britain's Strongest Man. He's been performing very, very well in all his comps, particularly on the pressing events. It's an event he loves, and he'll be looking to score big points on. Thor as well, obviously. But I think there's guys that can beat Thor on the log. Especially with this lineup, there's a lot of good pressers, a lot of good deadlifters. It's really strong. It's good to see. I think Browno's a good presser as well. Jerry's presses well. There's just, again, so many guys. I mean, 180 would have been a winning log 10 years ago in competitions. Now you've got guys that they're going to be looking for 5, 6, 7 reps to win this. And some of these guys are capable of that. If I was competing, I'd be looking at a couple of reps and, probably be placing near the bottom with 2 reps, to be honest, on that kind of weight. It's just insane, the standard that it keeps improving. But I'm kind of looking through the list, and there's just not many weak pressers in there. I mean, it's
going to be tough for Terry, isn't it?
Terry isn't pressing. It's not going to be great, especially with his body weight being down. And again, just the standard, like myself, I think Tom Stoltman might struggle, and we're talking about 190 kilo log lifter. Tom's a great log lifter, but it's just how strong they are. Lissis, he's doing reps with the heavy log at the Arnolds. Luke is an awesome log lifter. Iron Bibby's a huge log lifter. Robert Oberst is a huge log lifter. Janasha's a huge log lifter. Koski's a huge log lifter. Hindler's a massive log lifter. Jerry Pritchett, Bjornsson. There's just no one in there that you kind of think, I can get a few kind of points on. That's how strong this competition lineup is, and that's why you guys need to come and watch this show. The whole experience of the show and the environment that we're going to create is, in my opinion, it's the show to go to if you're a fan of Strongman and you want to make a holiday out of it. But the log is going to... Who do I pick for the log? I don't know. I'm going to have to think about predictions a little bit closer to the competition. We've still got 10 weeks right now, so we have to see how people's training progresses before I sort of make predictions on where I think people will come. But, I just rattled off a list of names that could all score big points on the log. So event 4 is the super yoke into the wuss shield carry. Now, obviously, we had the yoke last year. Absolutely crazy weight. It was 580 kilos. But we had prior warning of the weights, and we had time to train for it. Take note, World's Strongest Man. But it was a great event. I enjoyed it. It was because it was so heavy. I was genuinely nervous about it. But obviously, yoke's one of my favourite events, and because I trained specifically for that kind of weight, I felt confident on it, and I went and smashed the world record. This year, they're bringing the weight down slightly to 500 kilos and adding in the wuss shield carry to make it a little bit of a medley and just kind of mix things up a little bit. They've assured us that the platform is going to be 100% sorted this year. We're not going to have any issues like last year with any kind of issues of flooring. And the shield, they were pressing the shield last year. This year they're going to carry it. And I don't think the shield's going to be too much of an issue for most of these guys. It's just going to be fastest guy on the yoke, and then no mistakes picking up the shield is going to be a good kind of performance. Guys like, I think guys that are good at the yoke will be good at this, because I don't think there's going to be that, unless you really fumble the pickup on the shield. I think it's only a 20 or 25 metre run with the shield, maybe slightly less in fact. So it's not like shield for distance where the really fitter guys are going to kind of come into their own. Guys that are tall and guys with a long arm reach tend to manage a little bit more comfortably with these big awkward objects that you've got to carry. But if I was competing, it'd be an event I'd be confident on, just because I can be so quick out the blocks on the yoke, and that might give some of the smaller guys a chance. But guys to look out for: Brian Shaw, he's great on yoke, and he's so big he can carry events well. Koski again, that guy just moves rapidly with whatever's on his back. Novikov, the Ukrainian lad, he's extremely explosive, extremely fast, good with the yoke. I expect him to be good carrying the shield. This Tom was good on the yoke last year, and he'd be exceptionally good at like loading events and things like that. For Tom, he excels at. Lysis, when he trains for events, is just, he's well prepared. He'll know what to kind of expect. JF Caron, he's got long arms. The yoke isn't his best event, but maybe being that little bit lighter, it'll suit him a bit more. Czech Sanu, Iron Bibi, his yoke is really good. Last year he was unfit. He just looked slow and sluggish. I don't know if he got too big when he was kind of like training just for his max strength. I haven't seen much of him, but he's a good athlete, and if he comes in shape, he can move really well with those type of events.
Having a really big belly and chest is quite the hindrance on a carry event.
Yes, definitely. It can be okay on things like the yoke, where you just got that stability in the midsection, but a shield carry or something like that, it's not quite as effective. But someone like Kilias Koski, he's just so good at both those type of events. I can't see anything kind of slowing him down one bit. So the final event, the event that's going to decide it all, is the Atlas Stones. And again, I've said kind of, maybe it'd be nice to see some different events as the last events in competitions, but this is an Atlas Stone run with a bit of a twist. It's the first time in history the guys are going to have to lift 10 stones. That's right, 10 stones. I've seen 6 before, 5 is common, but 10 stones is pretty crazy. And knowing how heavy the run was last year, I'm sure they're not going to make it light. They'll put a few lighter ones in. You kind of have to when you're going that heavy, and particularly if every stone is ascending in weight. But the guys are going to be battered by the time they get to this run. It's going to be amazing to see anyone finish this stone run. Bear in mind, last year loads of guys struggled on the stones. You've got to take into account the beating from the events previously, how heavy the events are, and also how hot it is in Dubai. Last year it was so hot and humid that the condensation, if you like, that gets on the stones makes it trickier. The tacky doesn't stick quite as well. I think Tom Stoltman won the stones last year. He's an incredible stone lifter. He's going to be up for this run. Guys like Thor Bjornsson, Brian Shaw, obviously, Lysis, Kilias Koski, those guys on stones, all of them, they're so good. And it's going to come down to who is challenging for that, podium position. There's other guys that are great on stones, but I think those few that I mentioned are probably the best. Right now, I mean, we used to always talk about Thor being as good as he was on stones, and now a lot of people talk about Tom as kind of like, Tom's seen as the man on stones these days. But I think sometimes with Thor, he's already won a competition before he gets to the stones, that it's not quite as important. And Lysis on stones is exceptionally good. Last year he had a very bad performance on stones in this competition, so I'm sure he'll want to eradicate that and make up for it.
Lysis is really good on stones when he needs to be, isn't he?
Yes, that shows a good sign of a champion. I've seen Zadrunas in competitions before where people wouldn't expect him to win stones, and he wins them. I've been in competitions before where if it's about getting on that podium, you raise your level, and it'll come down to the guys, the top 3, top 4 guys, tend to somehow raise that level when they need to. And if you're one of the athletes that's really struggling, you're not going to get any higher placings by kind of winning the stones. The motivation at that point of a competition sometimes dwindles. But I expect to see Tom do extremely well on the stones. I expect Lysis to do extremely well. Kilias Koski, Bjornsson, and I would say Brian Shaw. If Brian Shaw comes in shape and really serious, I mean, we haven't seen the best Brian Shaw for a few years, and a lot of people kind of talk about him being, maybe he's past it. I think that's a hard thing. Brian's dangerous, or he's not that old. He's there's guys a lot older that compete. No, but you know what I mean, because he's been won World's Strongest Man 4 times, won the Arnolds. Where's the motivation? He's focused on his YouTube and other business kind of ventures. But I know that guy is still hungry to win competitions, and I'm sure he's going to train hard to be in shape for this. Brian wants to turn up for Worlds, he wants to turn up for the Arnolds, and this is like the new big competition that people want to be in shape for. The prize money is so good for all the way down, but the first prize is bigger than any strongman competition, bigger than World's Strongest Man, bigger than the Arnolds. So these guys are going to be up for it, and it's going to be a battle. There's so many guys, and I can't really predict a winner right now. So that's the events for this year's contest. I quite like the mix of events. I think it's a good mixture there. There's some good athletic events. There's some good heavy lifting events. And I think it's going to be a hell of a battle between, a number of the guys in this comp. I really can't pick a winner right now. I want to sort of see how people are training, see what kind of shape people are coming into. A few guys have contests beforehand, so unfortunately injuries and things like that could be, potentially get into the way of certain performers, certain athletes. But I like the events, and I think it's going to be interesting. I'd love to know what you guys think of the events. Let me know what you think of them, and secondly, who you think will do well on events. Do you kind of agree with me on some of the picks that I've got? Who do you think we should look out for? There's names there that I didn't mention that I know are really good. It's just such a strong lineup that you tend to look at the Brian Shaws, the Thor Bjornssons, the Kilias, the guys that are constantly placing top 3 in competitions. But is there any guys there that you think are exceptionally good on certain events? A real pick for me on the deadlift is going to be Rauno Heindler. That guy impressed me so much at Europe's with the max deadlift. And unfortunately, he got a bit of a hamstring pull, which affected his last attempt. But his 440 was just like a speed rep. I've never seen anything like it. And I expect to see him, be right up there on the deadlift for max. But comment below. Let me know what you guys think. We've attached a link below if you're interested in coming to the show. This is really the show to be at if you are a Strongman fan and you want to make a holiday of it. The guys behind WUS have put on such a huge event. There's the hospitality, you get meals with the athletes, you get but loads of stuff going on behind the scenes. You get to meet everyone. It's the absolute show to be at, and a real holiday experience. So click on the link below. Use my code, which is LOZ. No, have too many different codes for different things, but that will get you $50 off your purchase, and there's also tickets available when you're there as well. But if you're going to make a holiday of it, check out the link. There's so much going on, as well as the Strongman show.
There's other guests too, isn't there?
There are other guests, so I'll quickly run through the athletes that are going to be there. The people that are going to be there. So the athletes. Eddie Hall's going to be out there. Larry Wheels is going to be out there. Zadrunas is going to be one of the referees. And then you've got a whole list of awesome athletes. Mateusz Belsak. Krzysztof Radzikowski, Brian Shaw, Terry Hollands, Novikov, Shivlikov, Rauno Heindler, Jerry Pritchett, Thor Bjornsson, Mateusz Kilkowski, JF Caron, Ramin Fajanjad from Iran. Very, very strong guy from everything I've heard of him. 400 kilo plus deadlifter, huge social media following. Like they all get behind their kind of strongmen in Iran, and being in the Middle East, he's going to have a lot of support. Ian Bibby, Robert Oberst, Janasha, Luke Stoltman, Martin Lissis, and Tom Stoltman. What an absolute lineup! I'm excited about it already. I'm going to be there as well, so hopefully that's a good addition to the competition as well. But I wish I was competing, I really do, but I'm just going to go as a fan. I've got a few kind of seminars that I'm doing out there and a bit of promotional work, and hopefully I'll be back the following year. But it's going to be one hell of a show. Make sure you get your ticket, come and say hi, and have an awesome holiday out there.